gotta tell somebody.
This is the best thing I've ever seen.
Let's talk about that.
You need this. Listen to this.
Memorable and exciting.
Well, then be less boring.
I'm going to tell everyone. Wait here.
Mighty remarkable, Big Daddy.
Remarkable.
Welcome to Remarkable, a podcast for B2B marketers that deconstructs the most iconic moments in film, television, pop culture, and advertising for a single purpose: to give you, the B2B marketer, the same storytelling techniques that the pros use. In each episode, you will learn techniques from Hollywood, Pixar, Marvel, and beyond, from Spielberg's hands to yours, bringing remarkable content ideas to you every single week. I'm Ian Faison, CEO of Caspian Studios. This is Remarkable. This week, we're talking about B2B marketing lessons from Hot Ones with the help of our special guest, Head of Content at Skilljar, Caroline Van Dyke.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? For First We Feast, I'm Sean Evans, and you're watching Hot Ones. It's the show with hot questions and even hotter wings.
Caroline, how are you?
I'm great. And you know what? I'm excited I'm here today to chat Hot Ones and what we have to do with B2B marketing. So,
yeah, excited to chat Hot Ones, Skilljar, content, everything in between. Why the heck did you pick Hot Ones?
this is a great question. And, mind you, I'm not the biggest hot wings alone enthusiast. Anyone around me would kind of laugh at my level of spiciness in my food choices. I, recently graduated into mild to medium. But
spicy takes, not wings.
Yeah, spicy takes. Like that part, everyone's like, that is certainly my brand. We've got some spicy takes, which we can talk about how, we do the spice meter and when to pull it back. But I think for me, just of course, in content, we love a repeatable framework, something that worked, something that kind of mixed up a super traditional and honestly inaccessible approach to interviewing celebrities. Obviously gained traction over time, but just the concept that this usually was reserved for, eat Hollywood special tonight. You can tell what I grew up with. But basically, a way to remix it, started lower budget, grew. People got excited about ways that it turned into other formats of content on its own without them even trying. So just in all, great lesson around content creation and what to borrow and maybe what not to borrow from their approach.
I'm thrilled to dig into Hot Ones. It is one of the ones I think people reference the most as we're building podcasts and video series and things like that. So often imitated, never duplicated.
Precisely.
Zooming out, tell us about your role at Skilljar.
Yeah, happily. So I joined Skilljar a little over 6 months ago with a foundational marketing team that is incredible, really setting those basics around our product marketing, our demand gen go-to-market strategy, led by our fearless leader, Allie, over here. So we're kind of reinventing a few of the ways Skilljar has gone to market. So it's been a really fun time to get that foundation worked out, rethink parts of our brand, the ways we create content in a world that's just not the same as a good old ebook a day keeps, leads in your inbox. So we're really a creative team looking to approach things in a new way. So it's been really fun for me and getting to know, again, what makes our customers laugh, what kind of spice they might like, and what kind of spice we might not add to the dish of our content with that audience. So that's really our role here at Skilljar.
Meredith, what the heck is Hot Ones?
So Hot Ones starts with the story of a really shy kid who needed a way to break the ice in college. So Chris Schoenberger is the one who came up with the idea.
That is Meredith O'Neill, our amazing producer extraordinaire.
And he told Inside Hook, my dad was an early adopter of mail order and would get interesting regional foods sent from around the country, including absurdly spicy salsas and hot sauces. He says, I was a shy kid in college, but I brought some of them with me and found them to be icebreakers. I remember one called Bailiff's Brutality. It was obscenely hot and people would come by and try it and everyone would sweat and die in a fun bonding experience. I think that's what the audience has really glommed onto and loves about the show. I thought it would be amusing, but I didn't realize it would have the power to show people's personalities on a deeper level. It's impossible to put on a facade when you're dealing with something spicy. So that's sort of where the idea came from, but it wouldn't be until around 2014, 2015 that Hot Ones would be born. So Chris was working for Complex Networks, which was this digital media company that was really sort of geared towards men's lifestyle. So they do these video shows across platforms, and they do things like how to become a rodeo rider and sneakers and things like that. So he was working for Complex and he saw like they had this special access to celebrities. I was like, how do we tap into that more? And so that's when he pitched this idea to Sean Evans. And of course, if you watch Hot Ones, you obviously love Sean Evans. He just is like a really special interviewer and has a background in journalism.
I forgot how good you are in your interviewing skills.
And so Sean was also working for Complex at the time, and he was appearing in videos and conducting interviews for them. And Chris said, I needed someone who had on-screen experience, but we were very scrappy and inexperienced at the time. So doing a talent hunt and investing in finding a host was not really on the table. We had amazing talent just down the hall at Complex. And when I told Sean the idea, he said it was like a Cupid arrow to his heart. And he loved it and said he was the man for the job. From there, we just had to shoot a pilot. So Sean, who's now the beloved host of Hot Ones, says, we had an idea for a celebrity interview show, but we wanted to disrupt it. And we were like, well, how could we do that? And at the same time, Chris Schoenberger, whose mom is English, so she's from London, he was inspired by what he called the cheekier interviews he saw on British TV while he was on family trips to the UK. And so that's sort of like where the two ideas for the hot sauce and the talk show came from, or the interview show came from. So Sean Evans told the Wall Street Journal, the hot sauce is the disruptive element. It's designed to knock our celebrity guests off their PR-driven flight pattern.
I see how you guys do it. It disarms.
He says, I'm going up the mountain with you, so it's a bonding experience. By Wing 6, we're best friends.
I love you more, man.
I love you even. I love you even more.
And of course, like while he's eating Hot Ones with the celebrities, like the thing is like they're both mirroring each other. They're both going through the gauntlet, as he calls it.
I think what you're finding is that nothing actually helps. You know, like once you're in this thing, there's nothing that truly saves you.
So a couple of things I wanted to mention, like the 10 hot sauces each season are carefully chosen to increase in heat as they go through the interview. And I have to mention too that the interview questions are often like these deep cuts.
Good fucking question.
They're so well researched that often guests will say, how did you know that? Or I've never been asked that before.
I know you love Chipotle.
How you know that?
That's because Chris, Sean, and Sean's brother Gavin do research.
It is what it looks like. It's just elbow grease. You know, that's the thing about Hot Ones. It is just by design a labor-intensive show. And I think that it's just as important to do it myself.
Usually they divide and conquer. So one will focus on YouTube, one on podcasts, one on magazines or books, for example. And they also look into local media. So like wherever the guest is from, they look at like the local newspaper to figure out like what happened in the guest's younger years. So now there are over 300 episodes.
You've done that 230 some odd times now?
Yeah, probably closer to 300.
And a couple of like the must-see episodes are like Pete Davidson is amazing. He just like breaks down.
How you feeling?
Gotta be honest with you, pal. I've been...
He is suffering by like Wing 8, which is The Bomb Beyond Insanity, which if you watch the show, you know that's like the killer one.
This is The Bomb Beyond Insanity.
This was the one you warned me about this one.
Jennifer Lawrence has had memes made after her episode.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
And Conan O'Brien, who did the most recent season finale, and it is beyond what I ever thought would happen.
Come on, man. Are we doing this or not?
Yeah, no, I'm with
Are
you.
we doing it or not?
No, I'm on the same page.
What's the point of even being alive if we can't do this?
Right, now I really do feel alive.
So those are like a couple like must-see episodes. And they have really epic hot sauce reactions.
My throat's closing up.
But I think like what makes this show so special is like guests are often disarmed by the heat and are more genuine in revealing in their answers. So you get answers that are just way more genuine, authentic. And I think show celebrities as like real people.
This will clear our throats for us.
Yep, and everything else.
And you never know who's going to deal well with the hot sauce or who's not.
I don't think there's a wing on this table that I cannot devour like it's Cool Whipped cream on an August afternoon.
But a couple things to mention, like content-wise, like the show has been a slow burn. It's been going on since 2015, right? And so it really hasn't been an overnight success, but the concept is repeatable. The idea is really unique and the episodes are digestible, which I think are all things that make for really remarkable content. Plus the hot sauce is like the disruptive element. And I think that's something that could potentially be, I don't know how, maybe we could talk about that, but some sort of like disruptive element that can be applied to the status quo, I think is really what makes unique content. But all that said, like Caroline, I'm wondering, I know you said you're not really a hot sauce person. Do you have a favorite hot sauce? And do you have like very favorite Hot Ones episode and why?
So I do have favorite hot sauces, and like any answer I'll give around favorites, I'm always someone who's like, here are the conditions. Here's when I like this hot sauce or this thing. Someone might ask me, do you like bad coffee? I'm like, if it's the day where I need caffeine, I like bad coffee. If I'm being picky, here's what I like. But I would say my go-to is Cholula. Like, I just love her. She has a bit of sweetness to her.
So
And
good.
then, yeah. And the new brand, I'm a truff all the way, and I'll put it into kind of like spicy mayo sauces and put it on veggies. Like,
Ooh.
I dabble around. It's more that I'm just not like, make it hot and burn my mouth for the sake of that. And I actually was watching a David Chang show the other night, and he mentioned, he's like, when I was younger, I just wanted to have my mouth basically eviscerated at all times. And I was like, that's a whole other series to go into. And I was like, I'm just, I'm here to try it all, but not for the pain so much. Not for the pain.
That ain't me.
Yeah.
Same.
I don't want to see what I would look like on that response. I'm pretty sure I know my reaction, what it would be on Hot Ones. It would be like needing to leave the building.
Sean, I'm having a stroke.
I want the milk.
Yeah.
Truly.
I want the milk on the table from Jump Street.
I probably want like a block of cheese next to it. I don't know if that's a pairing. I don't know what, but just something is going to have to like hose the situation down.
I
But
need some ranch also.
Yes.
douse it.
Delicious.
That's truly, anytime I've been a wing person, which I love wings, but not to that degree, is I'm like, so what sauces am I getting? Like, sauce forward is my wing approach.
Yeah.
But I would say my favorite episode, some are just like outrageous. So at that point, I'm like honestly concerned too for the audience. I'm like, is this guy, someone punched something at some point, I think, or like broke something over his head. And I was just like, okay, this is a bit more WrestleMania that I was signing up for. But I loved the Jennifer Lawrence, just really the way her face looked. I think it also explains a lot of what this content can do and how it applies to other situations. And you just love where that went. So that would be my favorite episode because again, Jennifer Lawrence, a fan.
Can I give my notes for Hot Ones?
Yes.
Yes.
That there's one additional shot that they need to get that they don't get in this.
Okay.
And that is the guest the next day coming out of the bathroom.
Oh.
their face I mean, you have to truly be in agony for the next 24 hours.
See you in the bathroom.
That, again, the humanizing part is like, it's a human. The after effects must be real. And I believe Pepto-Bismol has a sponsorship opportunity if they have not already leaned into it. I'm hoping, again, another B2B lesson is, what are the after effects of this? Let's partner with a milk company. Let's partner with someone in that world.
If I drink a whole glass of milk, I'd probably be in the hurt box too. I mean, the whole thing is potentially glamorous.
It was truly something, and I listened to the host, he was talking about it. He's like, I will do this as long as my stomach can stand.
The discomfort that you feel, I catch it every single time.
And I'm concerned for his primary health provider and like how much she's probably hoping he's going to quit soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so they've done over 300 episodes since 2015, was it?
Yeah.
So that's actually not too bad if you break it down. It's been almost a decade. And you're doing, it's like 30 episodes a year, actually that's 30 days. That's kind of a lot. That's a whole month.
I'm sure if you go to, football season which is also why I think some of my friends would laugh at my affinity towards Hot Ones, because I am not per se your number one sports analogy gal out there. But, I'm sure there's people frequenting far more spicy wings year round than just this show. So,
Yeah, but there's certain people who can just take it, right? That's the whole thing is like, who is it? Was it Zendaya? No.
Yeah.
She was just like, yeah, what's up? Like,
that's crazy.
And then you
she
think
was
about
like, this is fine.
Yeah. You probably think of like Gwyneth Paltrow, but her brand is built around health. So it's okay to be, honest about what her wellness system is probably adjusted to. And my guess is not that many hot wings, but you never know. You never know.
Some other things about this show. So we actually did a little deep dive, the Caspian Studios team. I love like doing stuff like this, like studying. Obviously, that's why we made the show. But so we did one of these with internally for an internal training. And we like looked at Hot Ones. And we're like, what is so good about this show? Because admittedly, I didn't really get it for a long time. I mean, I watched a bunch of the show and I sort of was like I personally was like, I don't think he's the best interviewer in the world personally. And so I didn't necessarily understand sort of the the gravitas of this thing. And I realized that it's exactly, what we detailed here, which is his research and the team's research is so good. And you have the shtick of this, the hot sauce thing, that it's like he's getting extremely good answers and he's getting an unguarded guest. And there's all of this serendipity that happens in this. And so therefore it makes this great show. And I wonder if you had, I'm just going to throw like a random person, but like Chris Rock doing these interviews, someone who is a huge personality, who is above and beyond, or like Kevin Hart would be a great example.
Yep.
Kevin Hart would make this entire show about Kevin Hart, right? Which is fine, which is like what people would want to go see, but that's not what this show is. And he's so good in that role. And it really made me look at like a bunch of the different interviewers of generations past. And it's so interesting because like the way that media is done now, that an interviewer like this can break through. Whereas like you look at like Barbara Walters, Oprah, Charlie Rose, who obviously went through all sorts of sexual harassment scandals and all sorts of other stuff. But his style of interviewing, which I find like incredibly abrasive, very in your face, very gotcha journalism, very much trying to get the story and to pry, like truly pry at these things, which again, I'm not saying that's right or wrong or anything.
Yeah.
It creates the space for a show like this, which is getting extremely intimate stories and answers out of people in a way that they feel comfortable sharing it, despite the fact that they're in physical discomfort. It's truly great.
So much of what you're saying, there's a couple parts, right? And that's honestly one of the reasons I picked this show to talk about, is sometimes even if it's not my perfect cup of tea or the kind of content I love, as we already noted, we already know I'm a Schitt's Creek 100 million days a year if possible kind of person. Like, but again, that's my brand of what I like in my personal life, but understanding and respecting the art of what someone else is doing for a different intent and seeing the good in what they're doing and learning some things. So for me, also great point. You have amazing entertainers, but what kind of interviewer are they actually? Because they're taking the attention and it's about them. So then it becomes, the Chris Rock show, the Kevin Hart show, the whomever show. And so I think that's honestly coming back to one of the lessons out of this is, as a content creator in B2B spaces, when's the right time to make it like, hey, look at us and some personality on our team or like thought leader. Is it actually helpful to other people in the audience, or do you help them make actually their customers the stars and help give them that material, right? So I think that's kind of the lesson here, is not being the perfect A-list interviewer. And then also knowing in that space, those amazing kind of interviewers in that world also are existing at the same time. And your audience is experiencing this celebrity being interviewed on Hot Ones, but also on, whatever cable people still get. That's going to be my answer on that one as well. It's like your audience is experiencing a bunch of different kind of interviews. And so they're tapping into one space that has its own brand and own attention. And they did a great job of that.
Yeah, I think, as someone who thinks about this stuff constantly and has made, 100 plus different types of shows, we always sort of like preach to our customers. And as we're making a show with them, of like, there's two things that happen every episode that your audience develop a relationships with. And one is the host and the other one is the format. And like, you have to have a very clear format, because when you go tell a friend, that is what you tell them, right? You think of Wheel of Fortune, right? It's like the format is the format, right? The host is Pat Sajak. Like, Jeopardy. We, had a 40-year run of, the best host ever. He's gone now. The Jeopardy, the format remains. The host can, come in, exactly what you're going to get with, Jeopardy, Double Jeopardy, and Final Jeopardy. It's so important. And I think that if you took the host out of this show and put in someone else who's also asking extremely well-researched questions, and you kept the same Hot Ones format, the show would probably do still pretty good. Like, I don't know if it would do as well, but it's already, established. I mean, like, going forward. However, if you took away the wings, the show would never have taken off, no matter how good the interviews are, because they would create no moments that are remarkable. It would create no moments where you tell your friend, right? And you, like, at the end of the day, I want to see how Idris Elba deals with the wings, right? And now that meme is shared, like, I don't know, it's probably been 1 million views or 1 billion views on that meme, right? And that's what's so important, is like, it's more important to have a hook and to be different than it is to be great. And that is like so important. It's like the difference of your show is what makes it unique. And so
why
much so,
is there a sea of why this? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's like a very well-researched show. If I was like, I made a show, it's the most researched show that's ever been for, fans of Schitt's Creek. You'd be like, well, that's cool. I'm interested in that. I love Schitt's Creek. That sounds great. But that doesn't get you off the couch, right? That doesn't most
Especially
research.
when it's going to probably be on my couch, whatever show I'm watching, right? So no walking
That's
past here. Yeah, it's like
In this instance, you actually have to get up and change the channel with your hands because we're using a TV from 1992. But yeah, right? And so it's like that. I think that's an important part of this. Like this show is like, it is about the wings and the celebrities and seeing them do that. And that's the A story. The B story is we get them to answer the questions. And this is super important because celebrities, they're just like us, and they're kind of lame sometimes. And sometimes they're not interesting to interview. And even though we think that it's really interesting, an actor has a job that they go to and they perform and they do that and they transform into these roles. And then they go home and they're a pretty boring person sometimes. So like you need something else to spice this up. And this is why you have late night talk shows that are comedians filling in all the gaps, right? And asking those sort of questions.
I think it disarms people, right? So when you think about it, the way he offers a different channel, when you're on a press tour for a movie, we've all seen the same responses that are canned, that they prepared. So this offers you an avenue of, I might get something a little bit different or new or novel that
Yep.
can, add on top of what I already know. And I kind of think about that in a crowded marketing space where you're like, if you're just doing the same table stakes, which is that lovely corporate lingo we love to use, but if you're just bringing to the table the same thing everyone's doing of, hey, we all write, 10 blogs this month about the same keyword research that we have access to. And we have this, we call things ebooks and white papers. And great, we're all just kind of like raising this bar together of sameness. And so where can you go to get something a little bit different? And that's not to say then you don't also need that kind of sea of sameness and stability and important stuff, but what on top of it can you add, right? Because what I've also seen is you could say that you rip away all the other like sameness just in favor of, say, having like one fun show or like one fun meme that you're branded, but you don't have kind of the meat on the bones behind it. And that's why I kind of say like the personality of B2B marketing can be your hot sauce and like how you deliver it at what strengths, but like what's it on? Chicken with meat, a story, some real facts, something that someone cares about. And you're going to have to get to that part. Like if it was just hot sauce and you're watching celebrities eat wings and you're not learning anything new, it's far less interesting. It's maybe entertaining for 5 minutes, but it's not going to keep someone around. It's kind of this jump back and forth between depth and fun and then really reading your audience in that way.
And it's very, very serendipitous. I don't know if I'm exactly using that right, but there's so much serendipity in the show because you have this X factor of the wings and you have the Y factor of questions that the person has no idea if they're going to be asked and that they're going to dig around in their past life and that it's not on the third rail. Like he just doesn't ask third rail questions, right? He just doesn't. And so like they know that, I mean, I haven't seen every episode, but from all the ones that I've seen, he does not ask third rail questions. And so the guest is disarmed, but also willing to share and willing to talk about things in a way that I think, again, if you're sitting down with Barbara Walters, she's going for it.
Get into it. She's going to
find like whatever's the dark thing in your past, she's bringing it up.
Like,
what
this
was
isn't
that
the
like?
gotcha moment. This isn't right? Because it's not in the pure journalistic style of needing to get to some, super large result that hasn't been uncovered. It's actually looking for more like random moments or personalizing this human and learning a bit more about their reactions. And so I think that also builds the trust of, okay, I'm not also answering something about like this long held secret I've had my whole life while I've got a chicken wing in the other hand, right? That juxtaposition wouldn't probably land for the audience either. We're all just kind of like, oh no, like this is a bit of a train wreck, right? So I think they bridge that gap well and know their place, right? And know what the show is supposed to bring.
I think my final piece about Hot Ones, why it's such a great show, is that the premise is so strong and so memorable and remarkable that they can have a super cheap budget. They record in a studio that has a black background, black curtains in the back. They don't need to have all this other crazy stuff. They're buying $100 worth of wings and sauces, and they have, a multicam setup that's shooting a bunch of different angles, and that's it. It's not building a master soundstage that's amazing. It's not, it doesn't look like ESPN with the little, a little football field on the stage, and that focuses your attention, and you never care. You never I wish that Hot Ones, had a beautiful background or was sitting on top of the Golden Gate Bridge, or I don't know why I would say
that I probably would, right? And that means that if I'm willing to watch it when I was like, this is not the most aesthetic backdrop, and that's the lesson. It's actually about the content. It's not that they have a gorgeous QVC fake approach. Like, this is a real space and they're doing it amazingly.
Yeah. And because it has such a strong format and it has such a strong backbone, that the rest of those things don't matter. And you can put more work into the research. You can put more work into the creation of the show and going the extra mile on the show, rather than spending money on stuff that people don't actually care about.
100%. And I think that's the turning point I've noted in marketing in the past years as well, is that sort of coverall by having, a 12-month project where you sit in a room and can really debate whether this color or that color was going to land the message. And let's put all the bells and whistles and all the perfect things in, this campaign that should work. That doesn't buy you it working anymore, right? So it's like, put that effort into what the actual meat of the content is. That's research, getting to know people. And then now we're a little bit more forgiving of how things look. Yes, do we want them to still be visually appealing and do your best? But gone are the days of pretending that spending all that money or time just on a facade of something is going to also equal great outcomes. We've seen it not work many times. So how do you kind of meet in the middle of those two? And that wasn't a meat joke on purpose, but hey, we'll let it go in. There you go.
Meet me at the beach. I have one more. You see a lot of people copy it, literally one for one copy it. And again, no shots, do your thing. Imitation is the finest form of flattery. But I plead with the masses to just do something else. Figure out your shtick, because we like to watch, maybe we all like to watch people struggle. In fact, especially people who have more money than we do, perhaps. There's something elemental about that. And to know that, people are just like us. But if you're doing a business version of the show, you don't need to do the hot wings. It's fine if you did. That's cool. I'm not judging you. No judgment at all. But find something else. Give them something heavy to carry. Make them walk across the hallway. I don't know.
Do something else physically challenging. But I think that's the point exactly. Imitate. But also, if you really think you're going to imitate and do as well, that's also a question of your respect for somebody else and what they're doing and knowing your audience. Exactly. So you can't rip and replace. A lot of this conversation around take B2C and make it B2B. It's not that one for one. And you'll see people do it poorly, unfortunately, of thinking, hey, a consumer likes this, so I'm just going to copy it exactly and somehow make the pun relate to my industry. And just know, sometimes I've said this, even a personal passion of something you're interested in, if it doesn't land for your audience, respect that other program and don't duplicate it. Yeah, find something that mirrors this ethos of what's happening here, but not everyone needs hot wings on a webinar.
Yeah. If you want to take the formula is really in-depth questions plus putting someone out of their comfort zone. Go make that show. That sounds like a great show. If you want to do the research and put someone out of their comfort zone, that sounds fun.
Do that to me, Ian. Now you're making me nervous.
You should hear a knock on the door in about 30 seconds.
I would say one important thing is that Sean is eating the wings alongside the guest. Point. So that the playing field is even. So if you're doing sort of an interview, something and having that element of disruption, making sure it's even on both sides.
We wish he struggled more. Let's be honest. I wish he was more afraid of the wings. It would be if it was physically painful for him every episode and he's barely getting questions out, I think it would heighten it a little bit.
You just watch 0 questions get asked. Everyone's like, this is still good, but I don't know what's happening. Yeah.
When you were 13, just read the note card.
Yep. Hey,
you're so right, though.
campaign. It's a bonding moment.
Yeah.
You never want exactly. You're not going to just sit there and put people on the spot and make them uncomfortable. You're like, I'll sacrifice too. We're in it together.
Yeah. It's like if you were doing a show, if you were doing this show, and I think the person should be at your door soon, and you're like, actually, there's a great example. I was with a friend one time, and we went kayaking, and I am not good at kayaking, and I'm getting in there, and we're cruising all around. Yeah, I thought I was doing okay, and then the wind picks up. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is really hard. And then he's like, oh, we'll just go back to the dock. We turn back around, and so I'm going into the wind. There's like choppy surf. And I am dying. Like, I just like beeline it straight for the dock. And I'm like, it hurts so bad. My back is like seizing up. My legs are seizing up. I'm like, I'm going to die on this water. And this fool is going in and out of every cove, like every little cove. I'm like, does he have a speedboat? Like, what is whatever? We get back to the dock. And I'm like, bro, that was impossible. Am I doing something wrong? Like, what happened? You went, oh, well, I did crew in college.
Oh my
Like,
God.
here are your strengths before I know this. Yeah. Like, not
I was
saying,
like, what? Why didn't we just like hitch mine to yours, man? Like, so, anyways, you don't want to find out that the person you're with is if you're struggling way more than them,
good for that friend. That does give very crew energy, though. He probably did get some joy out of that, I am sure.
I know. And he's like 6'2".
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I know I probably look like I'm 6'5", but I'm not, in fact. And, I was dying.
This is why some of us are behind computers. And that's another thing of B2B marketing. Like, know your strengths, like, know where to lean in, know where to lean out. Like, you will not find me typing an ebook on a kayak,
I have typist hands. Every time, like, we have been digging in the backyard, planting some plants. And every time, like, I need to get the best gloves possible. I can't possibly get a blemish on these things.
I hear you. My worries. I'm like, what if I couldn't type? I'm like, well, I can talk quite a bit. So, we're in an era where AI could do something with whatever I've said. Who knows? So that's where we are.
All right. Any other hot ones thoughts? I think we did it.
I think we did a good job.
All right. Switching gears, Skilljar, content, marketing. How do you think about your content strategy?
Yeah, 100%. I think I would start with sort of my pick of this hot ones topic would be deciding how much your brand needs little spice and knowing where to lean in and where not to. So a lot of that starts with get to know what could be funny to your audience, get to know with, their pain points, something that would be resonating with them when you kind of call something out, but make sure that's based in a lot of the research that you've actually done on what your company needs to achieve. I've just seen a lot of folks get really click happy on a funny idea they have once, and that's super great, like sit on it, but then share it. And the next day you'll see a really corporate PR release, and then they never come back to that kind of funny side or, before they've really figured out their product market fit. And if they are selling well or doing well, you get too bold and then it doesn't connect back. Like end of day, if you're giving your audience kind of these bold ideas and a lot of personality, make sure you can kind of stand on that. I think that goes with anything, right? You say, if you want to make a joke, make sure you've got kind of the skills or something to back it up. So I think with this, that's where we're kind of thinking at Skilljar, what can we do to balance a lot of the key areas that you need in a content strategy? So for me, that starts with nothing that's super exciting on the like buzzy creative side. What do we actually need to achieve? If we're going after a new industry this quarter, if we're going after X sales targets, how do I start with that math and then actually back it up to the creative side, right? I just believe very firmly in backtracking more than I do of just coming up with a one-off idea and trying to connect it to our business and what would be useful. Sometimes I call those file those away. It's a really fun idea, but no matter how you try to pencil it in, it's just a fluffy one-off situation. So once you've kind of got that bedrock down and you work really closely with your demand gen or your sales team to make sure that you have that mapped out correctly, then you can start to prioritize and add kind of the buzz and the flavor and the excitement on top of it. So I think that's really the content strategy that I've approached with Skilljar. And we are in a more niche market in some senses where there's potentially like crossover in different departments. It's not as like clear as say you're marketing to purely IT and it's more straightforward. Or in the past, I've marketed to marketers. So that's also a lot of where my opinions on good marketing come from. So I think it's really connecting to that audience, picking a couple of our key topics and really trying to dive in and actually make those experiences great instead of creating the old school way of I came in, I'm going to create 1,000 blogs. I'm going to focus on all these just outputs when the foundation isn't there. So that leads to the main point. We prioritized updating our website, rebranding a little bit before we go out to market with a lot of our more bold points of view, so that we really have that bedrock to stand on when we're making some more of our bolder claims in market or having more fun marketing campaigns. Honestly, that's my content strategy versus, again, a content roadmap or an editorial calendar. That's an output of that content strategy.
What are some of your favorite content pieces or initiatives that you've worked on over the years?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start initially with the way that we're looking at content at Skilljar when I came in is truly your whole website is ownership. Obviously, there's a lot of different partners in that, but this is the experience people are having with you. It's no longer just offshoot, offsite things, and then they come back to your website and you only own, the blog or a resource center. So that was the biggest project. We took a couple months to do it. We had a really fast-paced team getting it done. It wasn't a version of a website rebrand. You think of old Mad Men marketing where you're sitting in a room for 7 months, like I said, debating the meaning and ethos of a color. Sure as that go into it, but really thinking about what does this website need to do? It needs to show our product, be performative, and then have that little punch of personality. So we worked on a new color palette. We used the best of what we thought our brand already had, which was a lot of amazing things and pieces of content. So we launched that last month and it's been really exciting. So that's by far my favorite content asset that I've worked on. And then there's a few more playful ones that I'll go back to. I think during peak pandemic times, I was marketing to marketers and everyone kept attending webinars because that's all we could do. And we were kind of sensing burnout from our audience about how many virtual events they could have. So we put out a little bit of a survey to see how burnt out our audience was. And we ended up titling it Not Another Webinar. And I basically gave people advice on, hey, most people aren't attending your webinars, but here's other ways you can use that channel. So that was more of a fun way to spice things up a little bit. And we would put little Easter eggs inside guides at that point because everyone was just at home reading. And if they got to page 10 or something, my designer and I at the time, shout out to Cash, had a little fun and would plan something like, are you still here? Kudos to you. Go take a break, So kind of talking to your reader, again, they're a human being. They're not just a robot consuming your content.
When you were 6, you were at day camp, you tripped and fell and scraped your knee. What was that like?
I'm like, how'd you know? I'm like, I probably was far more, who knows what was being injured at 6. I was probably tripping. I was finishing the mile last. I was, talking out of turn in class, potentially a little bit, starting some mini protests in a corner. That was what was happening at 6. But, I put a Band-Aid on it and all is better.
To what do you attribute your success?
I see what you're doing here. This is fun. Do I have to have a wing while you ask me these deep questions?
Wait, the wing guy never came? You're supposed to be there already.
I attribute my success to hot sauce because I avoided a decent amount of it to where my digestive system is okay. We'll cut that one from the record, but success. But if we're going to be honest, I actually had a funny week where I had a dinner with one of my old managers who's now a head of marketing elsewhere. I actually got a ping on LinkedIn from one of my old leaders at a previous company and just have felt very lucky of the amount of smart women I've worked for who really understand how to balance, hey, content marketing at a company is not just a fluffy editorial approach. We can take that, but here, how do we make it actually successful, have a seat at the table and, drive real outcomes at a company? So, that is what I am most grateful for. We don't have a Hot Wings show yet, but we might just call it, who knows? What would be a great thing? I'll figure it out.
We could have people put something into a jar or take it out of a jar. Something with a jar.
I'm all for it.
Some skill that they have to get into a jar. I don't know. We'll have to workshop it, but
you know what? We're all about, everyone does need some more skills. And that's really also talk about an amazing thing working for Skilljar, just how much anymore we're really focused on, hey, companies are struggling to get new leads. It's across the board or new customers. We've seen it happen. And so actually my excitement of working for Skilljar was there's so much focus on keep the customers that you already have and make them super happy and super capable. And so actually working at Skilljar where we're helping companies do that rather than just burn and churn through customers is something that feels great in the tech world right now.
I will say, by the way, the rebrand is fantastic. Our listeners can go to skilljar.com and check it out. It is really, really cool. It's a very, very visually exciting website. And the drop downs are so visual, and the way that you play with colors and different shapes and all sorts of stuff. So there's lots of stuff going on, lots of parallax scrolling and other types of things.
Yeah, there's a lot of elements to it. And one thing I'll highlight, not to be punny, because we did choose to have quite a highlight feature on our site, really speaking to kind of old school learning, something that our audience really relates to as educators, is that there's also a sense of neutrality to the brand with pops of colors. So that, for example, if you're coming to the blog, it will be, more bland in the background and, cream colored. But what we're going to ultimately be doing, and that's kind of my next foray, is, hey, we're going to have video content that stands out on that background, right? You're going to have a lot more visuals that stand out within that content, so that no longer is a world of just the words on the page. And then the other elements of the brand on the side or the background are what take the focus, right? So that's kind of my next hurdle now that the site itself and the core is built, is to really reinvent what our resource center looks like, or whatever the kind of like old school terminology that I'm trying to wipe away a bit of. People aren't going somewhere because I want a resource center or because I want a white paper or because I want an ebook. I'm going somewhere because I have a question. I need an answer. I want inspiration. I want to be heard and seen. And also, if possible, enjoy it during my long workday. And that's the cherry on the top.
Could not agree more.
And you'll love this, Ian, though. I have thought this through, and multiple colleagues at companies have asked me this. The idea of just reading ebooks aloud, so that A, it tests if the way you're writing is super unrelatable and very textbook. And second, if someone just wants to kind of listen to an audiobook version. And so, it's not exactly podcast, but it's a thought around a little reading corner. So I'd be curious to see if more B2B brands do that.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's like the idea that, if you're to just take a percentage of how much stuff on a B2B company's website is written versus audio versus video, and then go take a percentage of your own personal consumption, or if you were to poll your peers, their consumption of written to audio to video, you'd be surprised that B2B companies ain't making the right stuff. They're not making things in the right mediums that people are consuming more frequently. They're not making short form video, which is what we want. They're not making medium form video. They're not making audio. They're just doing more and more written content. And that's just not what people are consuming right now. Like they are consuming that too.
Yeah, it's an and, right? The classic and. And I would say, I think a lot of times we build content for systems, right? Which we have available to us in ways of capturing information and data, because you do need that. So we're working for our marketing automation platform so that I can get a way to contact you, right? And I need to have a valuable enough offer to get you. Or I'm working for Google 24/7 as content creators do. But at what point does then that come off disingenuous to your actual readers? And the trope has kind of run out too, right? You notice every few years, people now know what methods you're doing to get a certain outcome, and it kind of takes away some authenticity from your content. So knowing how to play in a world where you still need some of that information and more traditional approaches to marketing, but what can you pull into it as well and start just doing it a little bit differently? And one question I always ask with my teams who are looking for certain outcomes is like, hey, what's the outcome we're trying to get to? Here's 6 different ways we could get to that. Instead of assuming, hey, I need that outcome, I need a lead, we must do a webinar or we must do an ebook because that equals that outcome. And that is not always the case, nor will it be, especially as people are competing against. If you can write generic content, AI can. So you're really looking for something that kind of stands out in a different way. Again, hot ones might not be the exact translation, but the concept of hot ones.
Well, this episode has been the bomb. Caroline, awesome having you on the show. Final question. What is your best piece of advice for a B2B head of content?
My best piece of advice would to be very clearly aligned, which is another corporate buzzword, but with the numbers, the outcomes that your company needs to drive right now, because that is what everyone's looking at every day. And then once you've done that and you've set that backbone, go be different than someone else. Pick your lane and really lean into it. Don't spend all your time catching up to what other people have done and then have that free time to do something different. Cover your bases, but see how you can carve out something a little bit unique. And that might take time to figure out. maybe just rethink and question your own assumptions on your editorial calendar of, hey, here's my content quota because it's worked before in the past. It might not work at the new place you're going, and fail really quickly and realize, hey, my audience does not like that. I'm not going to take it personally. Let's move on to the next one and have a happy audience, and ultimately then impact those numbers that the rest of your company is looking for you to achieve.
Amazing. Thanks again for joining. For our listeners, go to skilljar.com. Check out the rebrand. It looks amazing. Any final thoughts? Anything to plug?
I won't plug any hot sauce brands, and I will just plug continuing to great content. And, also in the era of AI, just, shout out to all the great content creators out there who are mixing things up and using it as also a tool for themselves and creating a new era of fun content. So that's a wrap.
Awesome. Take care.
Thanks, y'all.
Well, that's it for today. I hope you got some good ideas for your B2B content. Thank you for listening to Remarkable. I'm Ian Faison, CEO of Caspian Studios. Remarkable is created by the team at Caspian Studios, B2B podcast as a service. Caspian also creates fiction series for B2B companies, so if you want a business thriller, you can learn more at caspianstudios.com. Hollywood-style storytelling for B2B. And in today's episode, you heard from myself, Ian Faison, and Meredith O'Neill, senior producer here at Caspian Studios. Remarkable was produced this week by Meredith O'Neill, mixed by Scott Goodrich, and our theme song is Solomon by Falak. Be remarkable and rise above the noise.